A woman was stranded in the ocean for 3 days and nights. Just as she was about to lose hope, an island suddenly appeared in front of her. Excited, she desperately began to paddle towards it. She thought she had finally found a lifeline, but little did she know a greater danger was just beginning. At that moment, the kayak suddenly rocked. The woman turned around, wary, and a giant shark appeared, launching an attack on her kayak. The kayak began sinking at an alarming rate. Terrified, the woman quickly grabbed the paddle and paddled desperately toward the island. Despite using all her strength, the kayak was leaking so fast, she almost got thrown into the water. To make matters worse, the ferocious shark kept chasing her. Fortunately, her strong survival instinct kept her from giving up hope. When she finally reached the island, she was stunned. All that lay before her was a large rock and a wooden raft, as the sharks swarmed behind her. In a moment of panic, she quickly tossed her paddle aside. She then jumped into the water, using the kayak to block the sharks for a moment. With all her strength, she paddled toward the raft. Just in time, she managed to climb onto the raft, escaping with her life, but now completely stranded. Once settled, she checked the supply box on the raft, finding some food and water, and to her surprise, a walkie-talkie. She quickly used the walkie-talkie to call for help, but there was no response. This left her feeling utterly despondent. Helpless, she took a few sips of fresh water to calm herself, then continued to check the supplies. Fortunately, she found a flare gun. She immediately loaded it and shot it into the sky, but then regretted it. It was daytime, and the small light from the flare might not be visible to anyone. As she stood there, uncertain of what to do, she suddenly noticed a figure behind her. To her amazement, it was her best friend, whom she had lost contact with for a long time. Overcome with emotion, the woman quickly threw a rope, hoping to pull her friend onto the raft. However, the noise attracted the sharks' attention, and they swiftly turned toward the two of them. The women trembled in fear, but somehow, they managed to narrowly escape. However, it only went from one person being stranded to two. As the two women pondered what to do next, the walkie-talkie suddenly crackled with a man's voice. It was someone who had heard the woman's distress call, and was rushing over by boat to rescue them. The woman immediately saw a glimmer of hope, but what she didn't expect was that when the men learned about the sharks in the water, they decided to deal with the sharks first, instead of rescuing her immediately. Realizing the danger, the woman hurriedly warned them, but it was too late. A massive great white shark suddenly collided with their boat. One man lost his balance and fell straight into the water. His companion immediately reached out to help, but a shark leapt out of the water, biting off his arm. The man lost his balance and fell in two. Both were swiftly devoured by the sharks. Watching her hope of rescue vanish, the two stranded women were filled with despair. To make matters worse, the sharks turned their attention to them again. Determined not to sit back and wait, the woman tied a rope to a loose rock, then began frantically splashing the water to lure the sharks in, hoping to use the rock to crush them. But the sharks were too cunning, and none of them took the bait. Frustrated, the woman jumped into the sea, deciding to use herself as bait to lure the sharks in. This tactic worked immediately. 3 giant sharks approached. As the sharks got close, the woman quickly climbed onto the raft, and her best friend, seizing the opportunity, threw the rock down. Although they managed to kill one shark, it enraged the remaining 2. Worse still, there were no more rocks on the cliff. With the sharks closing in, the woman suddenly came up with a daring plan.